Hey everybody, this is Craig Caudill, Director of Nature Reliance School from Kentucky. What we wanted to do today in our first video here is to discuss some of the calibers and handgun styles that you can utilize for your own self-protection. What I've assembled for you here are basically two broad categories of weapons. We have two semi-automatic pistols here on your right, and we have two revolvers on the left. And I'm going to give a brief description of each, and I'm going to tell you why I wanted to show these. First, on top right here, we have a Glock 19. Here we have an AMT 380. Here we have a Smith & Wesson 38 Special. And here we have a Rossi 357. Now, the reason I wanted to show you these various weapons is because from an old school methodology, what a lot of people are really tied into is carrying revolvers. And I think that's a holdover from the way things used to be. And people are overly concerned that a semi-automatic pistol does not function properly and does not work well. And that's quite frankly just concern that's not warranted. Maybe back when some of the newer weapons were being formalized, some of the semi-automatic weapons didn't work properly. But they have perfected the methodologies that they put these weapons together, and so they work and they function very well. Now, the reason that a lot of people choose something such as a small Smith & Wesson 38 like this is because it's a smaller weapon, and they assume because it's smaller that they can then put it in the hands of someone who is small in stature and it'll function and they'll be easier to utilize it. And nothing could actually be further from the truth. What I've done in the blog is taken a series of pictures that we'll be entering here as well. And in essence, what happens when you put this weapon into your hand, the back strap here does not have any sort of stopping mechanism that is here on the handle itself. And so when this weapon fires and it goes in this direction, basically there's nothing here to hold it such that it stays in the hand other than grip strength. That causes a problem for someone who doesn't have a lot of grip strength in their hand itself. And so you'll see a lot of older folks and some gentlemen that are just trying to find a pistol that works for their wife oftentimes, finding something like a snub-nose 38 or a small 38 like this and saying it'll be a perfect match, and quite frankly, it's just not. What I want to recommend is something as simple as a Glock 19 or maybe even a smaller frame Glock pistol, because what you have here, you can see this overture right here, that when I put this in my hand, I have a little bit of bonus here that keeps the weapon when it fires from coming out of my hand. Not only that, I have these grips that fit my fingers very well, and so I have a real strong grip. Now, I'm not saying that you have to go with a Glock. I'm just saying choose a pistol that you have a mechanism here that holds it in your hand a little bit better. And you can often find additions that you can put on weapons. I'm not a big fan of these, but for a pistol this small like this, a small little 380, a pocket 380 like this, you can have these rubberized grips that'll help hold it in your hand as well. And the reason I'm showing this weapon is because, in my opinion, this weapon right here, and this is again the Glock 19, kind of meets all the needs that we have. It's smaller in stature, it's not heavy. Basically what you have with a Glock is that all of this upper right here is made of metal parts, and this is made by the specific molding that Glock has come up with, and it's incredibly light. And so in this situation, basically you're not having to hold a big hunk of metal here. Whereas if you got into something like this, even with a 357 mid-frame such as this, you're holding a lot of weight. So this is, number one, not comfortable to carry for a lot of folks, as well, particularly concealed, as well as for someone who is small in stature, whether it's male or female, it makes it difficult to be able to hang on because, just again, you have the situation right here where you basically have to grip it tight enough to hold the weapon so that it doesn't rock back and out of your hands. Now, the next part of this that's real important to consider is how many rounds you can carry. Now, a lot of bravado and ego goes into play when considering how many rounds that you feel like you need to carry. For years, people only carried 5 to 6 shots in a revolver, and they felt very comfortable with that. And then the reasoning for that is that's basically all they had. That was their only option, so they got very comfortable with that. And I'm not saying that there weren't accurate shooters and good shooters that could carry a revolver. There's been hundreds, excuse me, if not thousands of those. But with modern technology, we're able to build weapons such as this Glock and even the smaller Glock 26 or something of that nature, where the round is smaller, it's easier to control, and you also have the ability to carry a whole lot more ammunition with you than you would in a simple revolver such as this. So in essence, this pistol right here, you can see it carries 5 shots, and these 5 shots are basically all that you have. Now, for it to reload easily, you have to have a proper cylinder reloader where you pull it out of your pocket and you stick it in, and it works exceptionally well. And so you can go from 5 shots to another 5 shots to another 5 shots. Whereas with a weapon such as this, it has a magazine, and I'll show you the magazine in just a moment, but this magazine holds 15 shots by itself. And so once this gun runs dry, which means I no longer have any ammunition in it, I can put another one in there. So here's the magazine for the Glock 19. So basically right here I have 15 rounds of ammunition, and once this weapon runs dry, I can push a button, the magazine comes out, I can slap another one in there, and then I'm ready to get back on target. And so quite frankly, that weapon is designed for you to be able to defend yourself and defend yourself easily. Now the other thing that I want to point out is just the ammunition itself. Again, you can easily look at this gun right here compared to this gun. And in essence, the reason I'm showing these two is because they are smaller, and you would think that this gun right here is a lot more powerful than a weapon such as this. And quite frankly, from an ammunition standpoint, it's not. So what you have here is 2 rounds. This, let's switch these up so I got them in the right hand. This is the round, this is the 9mm shell that goes in the Glock 19, whereas right here you have a 38 special round that goes in the 38. So you'll see the reason that these shells are a lot longer than one another is because this one has a lot more power. The bullet itself, a little bit smaller here for the 38 than what you have in the Glock 19. So basically what you have is you have a lot more power, a lot more powder throwing out a smaller piece of lead, and less powder throwing out a larger piece of lead. So not only in this weapon here do you have a more stable platform to shoot from, but you have smaller ammunition that causes as much, if not more damage than the 38. And in this gun, you have an unstable platform with a very powerful piece of ammunition that when fired causes a lot of disruption in the gun. So in essence, you've got a much stabler platform to shoot with a Glock 19 versus something like a Smith & Wesson. Last but not least, just look at the simple grips of the weapons themselves. You can see how small this is versus you can see how large this is. Now some people don't find that this is comfortable in their hand, and I understand that, but there's a number of different handgun grips that you can purchase. The point I'm trying to make is, let's assume that you've got a lot of power that's hitting against a stick. Let's say you've got this stick in your hand, you're going to hit a lot of power against that stick. If I have a small pencil in my hand, for example, and that power comes in and hits that stick, I've got to put a tremendous amount of grip strength into holding onto that stick simply to hold onto it so it doesn't break and I can hold it steady in my hand. Whereas if I have something a bit larger, I can get more surface area from my hand onto a larger pole, and when the power comes in and hits it, I can hang onto it tighter. In essence, the comparison I'm making is holding on to something larger here versus holding on to something very small here. So again, I'm not saying you should never have a Smith & Wesson 38. It's a nice pistol. It's been a functional pistol for longer than the Glock has. However, in today's modern age, with a weapon that is not very heavy, has the ammunition that you can do as much damage that you need to defend yourself, then something such as a Glock 19 or Glock 26 or 17 or anything that fits your hand properly, in my opinion, is going to be a better choice. So again, I hope that was helpful. Basically what we wanted to do is take a look at 2 broad categories, your revolver as well as your semi-automatic. Try to, in our opinion, guide you in the direction where you're picking up a semi-automatic simply because you can have more ammunition readily available. You typically have a more stable platform, and it's just simply put an easier weapon to function. So in that manner, we want to make sure that there's a whole lot that goes into how you operate these guns, and they operate very differently. That's not the scope of this piece. What we wanted to do is just give you that broad brush stroke look at what we're looking at, an overview, so that you can have a better opinion of which direction you want to go with a semi-automatic or a revolver. So with that said, we appreciate you. I'm Craig Caudill with Nature Reliance School. At Nature Reliance School, our motto is, come on, join in, let's learn together.